Used to see daily about 130 to 140 people a day trying to cross through here. But with the increased technology, personnel, and infrastructure, we'll see maybe 3 a day trying to make an entry here in this area. We also had a decreased number in narcotics seized.
So the fact that you catch less, does that indicate that there's actually less movement of drug trafficking? I mean, that could be a bad number too, right? You're catching less.
Hold on. 1 second, hold on.
Every morning I wake up to get dressed and go to school. I choose my outfit based on what might be comfy that day. But I wonder if only a couple miles down the road, things might be different. As I drive and pass all the signs that lead to a new beginning, I wonder, do others like me live the same? When I play soccer, do others do the same? Well, let me slip a soundtrack that's something that everyone must do, right? I set myself to investigate the temptations that nautical life has on our border town youth.
Transcurrieron los años, hoy soy un sicario, estaba con la línea del Chapo y del Mayo, soy gente bravera, muy trabajador.
It's no secret that our society is raging a war against drugs, a war that has been created by the constant supply of narcotics crossing the U.S. border every day. Such detrimental issues have created an influx of crime and also of corruption. According to Ian Grillo, in 2010, U.S. agents seized 4.5 tons of crystal meth, 905 kilos of heroin, 1,500 tons of marijuana, and 17.8 tons of cocaine coming from Mexico. Such seizures only are the tip of the iceberg, in a large corporation creating careers for our youth in the drug trade. I have been lucky enough to join forces with some of our federal agents fighting this battle against narco traffickers. He has given me great insight into some of the main issues, main points, and also some of the reasons why such youth decide to go into such a violent life.
This question, I'm just trying to figure out, how some of the drug dealers, they're able to operate without having any, anyone, they're allowed to work there when everyone knows what they're doing without having any like represalias. No one's like trying to stop it. They just let it happen.
I guess most of it comes down to it's these guys that are from those places operate like in their neighborhoods. I mean, this is like their backyard where we're trying to come and take all their drugs and stuff. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
These guys know so many people, or like their families, their cousins. I mean, they're so well into like their fucking business.
Yeah.
Where you're not gonna break them.
Yeah.
It's due to such influences that the narco culture has become a major part of many Mexican-American families, in which a life of crime and violence is passed down from generation to generation. Many of the young adults caught in this tailspin of a life are influenced by the media, movies, music, and fashion, which, in contradictory to all beliefs, actually glamorize the vicious life of a drug trafficker. According to Judith N. Martin, professor at Arizona State University, culture and communications are the foreground and context and power for the backdrop against which we can understand intercultural communication. One of the studies conducted by Monique Lowermore concluded that in a control group, individuals who witnessed aggressive behavior on film exhibited nearly twice as much aggression than did subjects in the control group who were not exposed to the aggressive film content. Such studies provided insight to why the multi-million-dollar industry of narco movies has exploded in the past years. Such explosion had given the narcos a gateway to many homes and minds without the use of many resources. The availability of many of the movies' contents online has facilitated the expansion of the narco trend in the remote towns of our borders, such as Laredo, Texas, McAllen, Texas, and El Paso, Texas. In many of
one of the biggest things I've seen on the newscast is the influence, not just in border towns, but like in mainstream. It's kind of the influence that the narco life has had on movies, also on corridos.
Oh, definitely. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a song after their name or, you know, their own band that comes and play with them? It's
Yeah.
definitely an influence. I mean, it's kind of like these video games that they throw out there where, you know, Grand Theft Auto, all these kids that just go run around killing people. Then they do it for real life.
Could it be that the narcos are funding many of the film projects to impose their ideas and even recruit young adults? According to intercultural communication in context, in order to communicate, it's important to improve the technology imperative by the explosion of computers, allowing small towns to become global villages. The Tigres del Norte are a norteño band that initiated in the early 70s. They came to fame with songs like Camelia La Tejana, Contrabando por Aire, and La Banda del Carro Rojo. Such songs were created with fake events, only ideas that struck the group, but in the early 2000s all changed. The violence in Mexico became an everyday phenomenon, giving true actions of betrayal, death, gun battles, and decapitations. According to Juan Carlos Ramirez, author of Cantar a los Narcos, Voces y Versos del Narco Corrido, the power of narco traffickers came from the grotesque stories being sang.
The narco corridos and the influence of movies, they're kind of corrupting our childhood. Do you think that that's one of the biggest reasons that some of these they become killers and they don't have any any resentment towards it or any they don't fear any punishment? Would it be because of these corridos?
It's a big part of what they do go into those songs. If you listen to most of them, you'll hear like, hey, this guy's like the leader. The second guy is like my right-hand man. The third guy is the one that cleans up for me. And they'll sing it. They have corridos that say the whole layout of their people. I mean.
But that's not all. The influence in movies has infected the industry but not changed it, as much as the narco corridos has been able to. According to Juan Carlos Ramirez, professor at UCLA, the narco corridos has changed from its early beginnings here in San Antonio, Texas in 1937 to a more descriptive generation. Juan Carlos Ramirez explains how the corridos evolved from a made-up folk stories from the tequileros, bootleggers, and liquor contraband coming to Texas into the Tigre del Norte invasion. According to the book Cantar a los Narcos, Voces y Versos del Narco Corrido, many of the small conjuntos that have gained fame in the past years have done it through the influences of the drug dealer's myth, such as Bucanas de Culiacán, Los Buchones de Culiacán, El Commander, Larry Hernandez, Chalino Sanchez, y Grupo Escolta. Much of the album's work and portrayal of the groups are of killers and military-grade soldiers in whom they convey a relationship between communication and power. Such portrayal is derived not from the pat on the back as we are used to from a superior, but from the fear and perception of a trained killer whose only objective is to destroy the enemy. But some of the ways that these groups present themselves tend to backfire and has even cost them their lives. For example, Tito y su Torbellino, a young artist who was gunned down in Sonora, Mexico, his affiliation with the narco was limited to the corridos being produced for them, but according to Mexico federal agencies, the message of narco corridos are so widely spread that the rival groups take a violent approach to quieting them.
I think the lifestyle of where we live determines how you end up. I mean, if you're born in the middle of nowhere, you're gonna probably be you're gonna want to be by yourself. Or you're born in poverty, you're gonna want money when you get older. I think it determines how you come out.
Many of the youth in our border towns also strive to maintain its national history and reputation by following the stigmatism of a macho, in which the bigger gun wins. Such violence has attributed to more than 47,515 deaths, according to the New York Times. But the narco war has not crossed the southern borders, in which, according to BBC News, only 5 deaths in El Paso, Texas, has given it the title as one of the safest cities in the U.S. If that is true, then why does the amount of arrests have increased for drug smuggling and distribution? The influence in money and fashion has contributed to the influx of teenagers into the drug organization. According to Communication in Context, cultural groups' histories are essential to understanding the fashion trends that have infected our younger society. For example, Such brands have been portrayed also in telenovelas by major chains such as Univision and Telemundo. Unfortunately, the division between greed and business has been broken by both the drug trafficker and the large legitimate organizations, in which it's trapping our youth in U.S. border towns into a down spiral of corruption.
Yeah, and what do you think is one of the biggest motives that she had at that moment? Like in order,
Oh, that's easy money. I mean, to them, it's, hey, just pick up this car, drive it to San Antonio or drive it to Laredo, and just chop it up at this address. We'll send you $700. Or hey, take these two illegals, chop them off at this address, and we'll give you $200. It's all money. I mean, money talks to them.
how much would you consider they would make a week if they did it routinely?
Routinely, there's a guy, we catch him all the time. He's under the age, so he never gets prosecuted. This guy has a house in Mexico worth like $150,000, and every time we catch him, and he's like, it's okay, I'm gonna retire by the time like I'm in 20, and this guy's like 16, 17 years old. He's got nice cars, he's got everything. He's like, dude, on the weekends I don't even work. I just go party. He's like, during the week, 3 or 4 loads, and that's my day. I mean,